But what did Alfred Nobel do next? In 1888, facing the shadow of his own mortality and questioning his legacy, Nobel had an epiphany. Instead of adding to the dangers of war, he resolved to end it. This is the story of how one man's accidental discovery changed the course of human history forever. When Alfred Nobel read his own obituary, he felt a wave of emotions: shock, disbelief, even anger. But above all, he felt sadness, not for himself, but for his late brother Ludwig. Though their paths diverged in adulthood, Alfred remembered their childhood bond, their shared dreams and aspirations. And he knew that Ludwig, with his gentle soul, would be deeply troubled by the impact of their family's inventions. Alfred understood that if he didn't act, Ludwig's memory would be lost, buried under the debris of his inventions. So he made a decision. He would honor his brother's memory by changing the world for the better. But how could he do that? Then inspiration struck. Why not use his wealth and influence to end the very wars that his inventions had helped to fuel? On December 10, 1888, exactly 4 months after reading that fateful obituary, Alfred Nobel signed documents that would change the world. He established 5 separate funds, each dedicated to recognizing outstanding contributions to humanity. The first prize would be awarded to the person who had done the most or the best work for fraternity between nations, for the abolition or reduction of standing armies, and for the holding and promotion of peace congresses. The second prize would go to the person who had done the most or the best work for the advancement of peace. The third prize would be awarded to the person who shall have done the most or the best work for the fraternity between peoples, for the abolition or reduction of the standing armies, and for the holding and promotion of peace congresses. The fourth prize would go to the person who shall have done the most or the best work for the advancement of peace. And the fifth prize would be awarded to the person who shall have done the most or the best work for the benefit of mankind. Together, they would become known as the Nobel Prizes, awarded annually to individuals who had made extraordinary contributions to physics, chemistry, medicine, literature, peace and, since 1968, economic sciences. Nobel wanted these prizes to be a beacon, attracting the brightest minds and inspiring them to push the boundaries of human achievement. With that, he hoped to counterbalance the destructive legacy of his inventions. But establishing such prizes wasn't easy. Alfred Nobel died on December 10, 1896, without ever seeing his dream fully realized. After his death, his will was challenged in court, largely because it was suspected that the secrecy surrounding the establishment of the prizes and the identity of the beneficiaries was part of a clever tax evasion scheme. Despite the controversy, the Nobel Prizes were eventually awarded for the first time in 1901. Over the years, the prizes gained prominence. Scientists, writers, and innovators from around the globe started working towards that prestigious award. Today, winning a Nobel Prize is considered the highest honor one can achieve in their field. But that wasn't Alfred Nobel's only gift to the world. Throughout his life, he was a prolific writer, penning over 350 scientific papers and several books. Many of these works remain unpublished to this day, offering a glimpse into the mind of a genius who straddled multiple disciplines. But why has no one heard of Alfred Nobel's writings? Alfred Nobel was a man of many talents, but being an effective communicator wasn't one of them. He wrote extensively on topics ranging from ethics to engineering, but his prose was dense, technical, and often difficult to understand. This lack of clarity extended to his personal relationships. Nobel was a private man, often misunderstood and frequently mischaracterized by the media. He suffered from social awkwardness, which led to strained relationships with colleagues and friends. But perhaps most tragically, his efforts to reconcile with his estranged father in his later years were cut short by Emmanuel's untimely death. All this changed after Nobel's passing. Following his death, thousands of letters, notebooks, and personal items were discovered, providing an intimate look into his life and work. Some of these writings were published posthumously, offering the world a chance to see beyond the headlines of the Merchant of Death and understand the man behind the myth. These works revealed a complex individual, a brilliant scientist who grappled with the ethical implications of his inventions, a man who sought peace despite profiting from war, and a lonely genius who yearned for connection but struggled to communicate. So why don't we know about Alfred Nobel's writings? As fascinating as Nobel's personal story is, it's overshadowed by the explosive impact of his inventions. We tend to remember him as the creator of dynamite, rather than the author of scientific treatises. This isn't surprising. Nobel's inventions literally shaped the 20th century, influencing everything from construction to warfare. Dynamite and other explosives made monumental engineering projects possible, while also fueling some of the deadliest conflicts in history. This dual nature of his inventions reflects Nobel's own personality, a brilliant mind capable of both incredible creation and profound sorrow. But it also highlights a larger problem. Our fascination with the spectacular, the dramatic, and the destructive often overshadows the quieter, less visible aspects of human achievement. We are drawn to stories of explosions and conflict, not because we enjoy the violence itself, but because we are captivated by the sheer scale of the events. The dramatic impact of these stories captures our attention and leaves a lasting impression. Unfortunately, this tendency shapes how we perceive history and remember those who lived it. We tend to celebrate the warriors and conquerors, the inventors of weapons and the architects of conflict, while the scientists, writers, and innovators who seek to build, create, and understand often go unnoticed. This isn't because their contributions are less important, but because the stories of destruction tend to be more sensational and therefore more memorable. But here's the paradox. It's precisely this tendency that Alfred Nobel sought to challenge. He wanted us to remember not just the destructive potential of human ingenuity, but also its capacity for creation, understanding, and peace. By establishing the Nobel Prizes, he created a tangible reminder of this duality, a celebration of both the destructive and constructive sides of human nature. Yet even this hasn't been enough to shift our collective memory. Nobel still remains best known for his invention of dynamite, even though he was uncomfortable with its use in warfare. The fact that his name is synonymous with peace, ironically derived from the negative press he received during his lifetime, seems almost beside the point. To truly honor Nobel's legacy, we must do more than remember the prizes that bear his name. We must also revisit and understand his writings, not just his obituaries, but his scientific papers, his personal letters, and his unpublished works. Only then can we begin to appreciate the full scope of his genius and the complexity of his character. Today, we live in a world reshaped by technology, and as we face the challenges of the 21st century, from climate change to artificial intelligence, it's crucial that we remember the lessons of the past. Alfred Nobel was a man ahead of his time. He recognized the potential benefits and inherent dangers of scientific progress, the allure of destruction, and the importance of peace. His life and work challenge us to confront these issues head-on, to pursue innovation responsibly, to balance progress with ethics, and to strive for peace in a world that often seems intent on conflict. The story of Alfred Nobel is ultimately a story about ourselves, about the choices we make, the legacies we leave behind, and the kind of world we want to live in. It's a story that reminds us that even in the darkest times, a single individual can make a difference. As we look to the future, let Alfred Nobel's example guide us. Let's seek not just to understand the world, but to improve it. Let's strive to be agents of positive change, not bystanders in the face of injustice. Let's remember the brilliance of his inventions, while upholding the vision he had for peace. Let's ensure that his name, synonymous with peace today, continues to inspire generations to come. Thank you for watching.